Welcome to the Relentless Mindset Podcast. I'm your host, Gerald Tabb. Coming to you straight out of Detroit. Let me give you a backstory. I'm a blue-collar worker turned full-time rideshare driver. And I started this podcast to build something real, a voice, a brand, a purpose. This show is all about pushing through the noise and staying locked in on what matters. Here on the Relentless Mindset, I share motivational stories, powerful perspectives, and the mindset that keeps me grinding every single day. You hear motivational narratives 7 days a week, along with real reflections on life, struggle, purpose, and how to keep moving forward no matter what. So buckle up and come along for the ride. If the content hits home, be sure to subscribe, download, and share it with someone who needs a little inspiration or a new way of thinking. And if you got a story worth telling, drop it in the comments. I just might bring your narrative to life on a future episode. Welcome to the journey. This is the Relentless Mindset, and we don't quit. I was thinking here for a minute, and I kind of wanted to ramble a little bit. This one will be a little bit unscripted, but I wanted to just put a little bit of motivation out there and say some things that I have kind of been thinking about. I always have a head full of thoughts on just tons of stuff that need to get out. And I'm glad I have this podcast because having this podcast is it's somewhat of a therapy. So it kind of works that way a little bit. I'm going to kind of go through a few things of motivation and, like I said, just get some things kind of off my head, and hopefully somebody who's listening to this will hear these things, and it will give you motivation to move forward out of whatever situation or funk or obstacle or whatever that you may be in. First of all, I want to start with you have to treat your life as a business, number one. I think a lot of us, when we are growing up, we just have that natural thing to want to hang out and do this and do that, and we waste a lot of our lives because we don't have we don't have a mentor to kind of guide us and mold us and let us know these things, because we don't really understand them for a good majority of our life. And I just wanted to kind of say, treat your life as a business, number one. And in my personal opinion, I feel that you're showing how much you should be paid when you're doing nothing for free. You go hang out at such and such's house every day and watch traffic or whatever for free. And it's like, okay, you could have been doing something else that would have added value to your life or even somebody else's, but, you kind of, to me, I wasted a lot of time with something. I won't get into it now because that's my next subject. But I wasted a lot of time just doing nothing. I enjoy life, don't get me wrong, but now that I'm older, I look back and I say, well, I probably should have did things a little bit different. And it's definitely a natural human behavior, but at the same time, I want to speak life into people who will listen. And then maybe you don't have to waste as much time because, I kind of tapped into something in you and it clicked. And you said, maybe I'm going to start, treat my life as a business. So that's number one. Number two is we have to stop entertaining the people that don't matter. And what I mean by that is most of the people you grew up with don't fucking matter. Literally. Because to be more specific about it, it's like the Will Smith and Chris Rock fight, right? So Will, he has an episode or whatever, and he goes up and he slaps the shit out of Chris Rock. I mean, wow. Like, the world saw that video and can still go back and see it. I mean, incredibly embarrassing. But Chris Rock says, hey, you don't fight in front of white folks. And I get where he's coming from to a point, and I respect him so much for having so much dignity in order to do that. I've done it, just not on national TV. That, takes some fucking balls of steel, to stand there and not only not do anything, but to continue the show uninterrupted and still able to go right through the show with really no hiccups, whatever. I mean, it just doesn't get any better than that when it comes to entertainment. That's like a resume to say, I'm definitely going to hire this guy, because if he can get slapped on national TV and still just keep going, and, basically the show's more important, that's a guy I want to hire, But my point is, everybody there are people, well, we'll say a good majority of the people who are there. And we'll just focus on the big names, Denzel and a couple other people. They weren't impressed by the Will Smith slap. And usually growing up, when you get in the fight, you got everybody rooting you on, oh, you beat him, you won that fight, you kicked his ass, etc. And my point is, those people are the ones that don't matter. The ones that say, hey man, you okay? You good? It's good, man. You just gotta blow it off and, just kind of keep going. Those are the ones that matter, because they're encouraging you to keep your eyes on growth. Not give a shit about who won a fight or not. Because to be honest, let's just say you get in a fight And let's just say you finally say, you know what? I'm done with this. I don't want people to think I'm a coward, whatever. I'm hitting this guy back. You hit him back, he falls, he hits his head on the curb, he dies. Now you're going to prison for, I guess you would call it negligent homicide. All because in your mind, you had to prove to yourself that you weren't a punk to people that don't matter and can do absolutely nothing for you and are probably mad at you for what you're doing anyways, because you're a reminder of what they're not doing. So, like I said, everybody who mattered in the Will Smith fight wasn't impressed. They weren't impressed by some idiot making a fool out of himself, getting up on national TV to basically prove that he wasn't a punk. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying Will Smith, I'm not saying you're an idiot at all. You're actually I'm a huge fan of you. So just want to make sure I put that out there, just in case by some freaking whim you happen to listen to this episode of The Relentless Mindset. So just want to get that out there. Will Smith, cool guy, genius in the movie area, not an idiot. But like I said, he wanted to prove that he was a man or something like that. There was a thought going in his head like, you know what, I'm sick of this, I'm done. And he made that switch. But I'm not going to ramble about it. Point being is the people that matter were not impressed. Chris Rock turned around, sued him for $40 million. Easy check. Could have got more than that. I think Jim Carrey said he would have got up the next day and sued him for $200 million. I mean, like, really? I'm not saying Jim Carrey is wrong, but I am saying, like, man, Jim Carrey just said it with a smile, like, I would have got up the next day, took him to the bank. Period. Can't blame him. It's not wrong. Another little side note, nothing wrong with that. I totally agree with what Jim Carrey said. Great comedian, definitely a fan of him, funny guy. Not saying anything about what Jim Carrey said, but just kind of giving my opinion on what he said. Not saying it was wrong at all. Want to make that clear. Next, number 3 is, I think this is a huge mistake that we make that I don't think we realize. And we do it so much that we have just grown to think that it's just a part of the process. It serves two purposes. So it's kind of double-ended. Kind of a 2-for-1, put it that way. One thing is understanding I guess I would call it the self-healing process. be happy, be healthy, be content with your situation, and let me see, happy, healthy, content, and peaceful, and be focused on growth. Okay, now we'll go through at least my definition of those things, and then I'll tell you what the split side of it is. Number one, happiness. To me, I'm not sure when you're doing something. I'll just say, for me, I look at it as when I'm doing something and I'm actually pissed off when somebody calls me, because I do not want to be bothered, because this is what I like to do and this is what makes me happy. The next one is content. Now, this is a tricky one because I got it wrong myself. I thought I was content, but I wasn't. I was just masking everything with the grind. So it's like, I guess you would call it like when you're climbing Mount Everest, right? You're not content when you're on your way up. You're content when you get to the ledge where you say, this is a good place. I can kind of rest a little bit. I'm still thinking and working out getting all the way to the top, but I'm content with this particular point in the mountain. You know, I'm not really pressed. I'm content about how far I've gotten. I'm content about looking and seeing, okay, I still got this much to go, but I'm good at the spot that I'm at. So that's content. Content is not when you're climbing up, because you're still grinding and still trying and still, you're still constantly in the process of getting to that point where you can kind of say, okay, I'm good. I can take a rest. I'm still working and I'm in a good place, but I'm good right here. So that's my idea of content. Peaceful. I mean, that's pretty much easy one, but a lot of people get it wrong. Peaceful is, in layman's terms, if it ain't got nothing to do with me, I don't want to be involved in it. Anything, bad thoughts, your family problems, if what you feeling is negative, if you playing in my face, meaning you're talking to me, but in your head, you're actually laughing at me. Now you playing in my face. So as far as my peace is concerned, keep it away from me. I mean, I got some family members like that kind of think you stupid, but I like my peace, so I stay away from it. The last one, well, no, that's not the last one. Health. Good to work on health, and not just for a six-pack, but it's health because in my particular situation, I was diagnosed with high blood pressure and diabetes, and I really didn't know anything about sugar and how kind of 98% of our food system is either salty as hell, or most of the food you eat ends up turning to sugar. I didn't know. I thought sugar was, when they told me, oh, well, you pre-diabetic, you might want to cut back on your sugar. I thought that was like, okay, I'll go home, stop drinking Kool-Aid and sugary drinks. Didn't know that it was like everything else, from peanut butter to milk to grits to corn to anything. All that stuff turns to sugar. So, that was really a shock. But once I figured it out, then I was good. I just changed up my diet. I started, I bought a Walmart bike. I revamped it. I got a power bike trainer. So my bike is inside. I got this app that connects to the trainer, virtual bike app, and I ride my bike a half hour a day. So I lost I was 250, 249. It was somewhere around there. 250, 260, somewhere around there. And now I'm like 200. And I'm so good at I got the whole sugar thing so toned in, so dialed in, that I can be 195 very easily, within a couple days, or I can be 205, because on the weekends I like to treat myself. Sherbert is like my arch enemy, so I like to treat myself on the weekends. I may gain a pound or 2 or 3, and then during the week, I'll just stick to my 2 turkey sandwiches, an egg in the morning with a piece of chicken, and then I'll do my thirst quenchers, which is water sweetened with artificial sweetener, really good stuff. And everything is on whole wheat bread, so it keeps everything flowing through me. And I'll knock off the pounds that way during the week. So I got it all dialed in. So, and also my blood pressure was, I think it was 130 over 101 at one time. Now it's like, I think 118 over might be 75, somewhere around. It's like really good. So, sorry to rant about that, but health is a big thing, and it's long-term health. I don't really care about the six-pack and all that type of stuff. I just don't want to get to retirement and then all of a sudden I'm going to the doctor, every other day and can't walk and hunched over. I just don't want to do that. So as far as health, I'm doing it for a healthy lifestyle, not the summer body. So next is growth. And I think as far as growth is concerned, I think that a lot of times we're focused on this whole online millionaires, and you never know who's doing what. And it's really easy to get focused on them and just get stuck, and get down in the dumps, and whatever you're doing is not working. You're not making as much money as them. And it can really be a downer if you let it get to you. But here's the thing, because I was there once. I was pissed off watching YouTube videos of people making money every day, down on myself, and what I was doing wasn't working. And I finally said, you know what? I'm pissed off at these guys because they're grinding, doing the work, and I'm sitting up here watching a video all day. So what is that telling me? I'm spending all this time worried about them and not worried about myself. So therefore I say, hold on. Let me spend the time that I'm spending watching their videos and watching them grind. Let me use them as motivation and put that energy into myself. And when I started doing that, then that's when I started to grow as far as my financial situation is concerned. No, I'm not making the money that I'm not making thousands of dollars every day and bling bling and all this other stuff. But I will tell you what, when I started focusing on myself, I started to grow. I ended up getting another vehicle, a new 2021 Mustang at the time, newest car I've had. I know some of y'all gonna say, oh, well, that's not brand new. Well, when I got it, mint condition, it had 3,500 miles on it, Mustang GT Premium, fully loaded. Blacked out grille, rims, leather seats, the style bar inside, cloth, black top, different driving modes, different seat modes, different steering wheel modes, the different exhaust modes, subwoofer in the trunk, the different dash modes, everything. It's gray with black racing stripes, and then it's got the little red stripe on the outside. Real nice. So I started to excel as far as everything that I was doing was concerned. So, when I started to focus on myself, then I started to excel, because I had to realize that being focused on somebody else, for one, is not going to get you where you want to be, because you're spending all that time focused on somebody else and worrying about what somebody else is doing, instead of being focused on yourself and being obsessed with yourself and obsessed with, what you're doing. Also, I want to say that, for those of you who may be doing something that's completely not working out and making zero money, you have to do a comparison, or not a comparison, I'm sorry, wrong word. You have to do an analogy of your bubble and the different streams of income that you have access to. And then you have to say, okay, figure out, which ones can make you money. And those are the ones you want to do, whether you want to do them or not. Figure out which ones can make you money, because money walks, bullshit talks. Money talks, bullshit walks. I'm sorry, I had that ass backwards. But you want to figure out the things that can make you money and do those, because these are things that are going to bring in income. And then in your free time, you kind of slowly work on the other things that aren't making that much money right now. And for instance, I do rideshare. Rideshare is my bread and butter, but I do the podcast, and I do YouTube, and I do some other things. after I get done with rideshare, because and maybe in the long run, the podcast or YouTube can generate income. But right now, my bread and butter is rideshare. So that's what I do. And also, just to also note too, that my day is full. So I get up at 3 o'clock in the morning and then I go in the kitchen, pre-make my lunch the day before. So I go in there, I get my lunch all together. My breakfast is pre-made. For those of you who care or want to know, they have these little round omelet makers that you can get off of Amazon. And what you do with those little omelet makers is you take them and you want to stick them in a glass bowl, or you can put them in a what do you call those other things? They're not glass, but they're all I know is when they make them, I think they stick them in a kiln, and they make it like that. So you can stick them in there, either one, because the rubbery stuff that the omelet maker is made out of will stick to that better. So you take an egg, crack it, stick it in there. I do 2 eggs, crack them, stick them in there, and then you put it in the microwave. If you have 2 eggs, you can put it in the microwave for about 2 minutes, and a little bit will leak out up under the bottom. And you might want to take maybe a plastic lid, stick it in there, just so if the egg happens to explode, then it doesn't get all over your microwave. So after 2 minutes, when it's done, then you pull it out and you take a spoon or a knife or whatever and go around the inside rim of that little omelet maker. So, and the edges will stay stuck to the omelet maker. So you just scoop it out. And basically, what you're doing is you're doing the same thing as, what you get at McDonald's. So, in the morning, I like I said, I went and got some whole wheat biscuits, and usually I'll take them, put some butter on them, put them in a pan, toast them, maybe put a little bit of jelly on them. And I found these little round chicken patties that are about the same size as those muffins, or you can get ground pork sausage, but you'll just have to make round patties the same size as the biscuit, and then you just put the biscuit on there, put the egg on there, and now you have a whatever sausage McMuffin with egg. Same thing that you're gonna go over to McDonald's and pay $8 to $10 for. You can make it at home real easy. So just wanted to say that. But that was part of my health journey, and with those things, that's part of the whole process of growth. And now here's the other part of the 2-for-1. I don't think I said this yet, but the other part is everybody does this, and we always have, right? So when I always say that the woman makes the man, she makes the man from the time she meets him. She turns that man or boy into the man that she wants. Okay, and this is how she does it. We all know when we meet somebody, we meet them and then that first day, right, we blab about spend 5 or 6 hours on the phone. Doing what? We're telling each other everything that's not his business and it's not her business, right? We're on the phone telling them about how many kids we got, where we work, who we used to date, what kind of sex we had, how many partners we had, what positions we did it in, the baby daddy comes over every day at 5 o'clock, sits for an hour or sits for a half hour, for whatever, because there's, an hour difference between when I got to be at work and the time, he's got to be at work, whatever. We just blab every single thing and none of it, okay, I'll say that again, none of it is any of the other person's business. None. So part of the whole process of self-healing and self-content is, don't tell me anything that's not my business. I don't want to know anything that happened outside of my apartment door. I don't care, because it's not my business. I don't want to know how many male friends you got. I don't want to know, how many, what type of sex you had. I don't want to know how many kids you got, what type of baby drama, when the baby daddy is coming over, what type of business you and your baby daddy got, what kind of problems you got, what kind of problems you and your kids got, you and your mom got, you and your brother got, about your work husband and this, that, and the other. None of it is my business. None of it. I don't want to talk to you you don't have to call me when I get up. You can, don't even text me if that's not what you do. I don't want to talk to you all day long, because if we talk all day long, what the hell are we going to talk about when you get home or when you get off work? I'm not going to sit on the phone with you in complete quietness as a grown man. It's like, and as a matter of fact, if you do talk, the way it should be, that's the way it should be. But, and also the way it should be is like, hey, good morning, whatever, have a good day. At the end of the day, you don't need to give the guy a detailed script of what happened during your day. Also, when you get home, the conversation between you and the guy should last half hour. Hey, how's it going? How was your day? Yada, yada, yada. Whatever, blah, 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 blah. What do you think? Maybe some advice. What do you think? What do you think, so you can kind of help me point me in the right direction. Okay, but I'm going to take a shower. After I take a shower, I'm going to sit down and watch TV. Goes back to what you like to do, being happy. Maybe I'll, when I'm in between, when I'm getting up, after doing what I like to do, what makes me happy, and I'm about to go to bed, maybe I'll send you a quick text. Hey, yada, yada, yada. You're an asshole, whatever, but I still love you. Whatever. The skid marks have to stop. I'm on my way to bed, yada, yada, yada. But that's the way it should be, because I think too many people these days they have this thing where we have to be stuck talking to each other all day long about every waking moment that we have. And that's untrue. And, the reason I say that women mold the man that they're with into the person they want to be with is it's just, you meet these guys, you tell them all your business, and then you wonder down the road as to why he's jealous and acting this way and this, that, and the other, yada, 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 and it's like you created this monster, or it could be vice versa. So we have to do better on that. And that's part of the self-healing, and lastly, I would like to say some words of encouragement to those of you who are out there who are at a point in your process that you are just ready to give up, or you've stopped putting in energy, the energy that you used to. The thing about, I guess you would call it success, maybe growth, is, you can't get in a Mustang. I have a Mustang. So I can't get in my Mustang and just floor it, because that gas is not going to last that long. But if I get in it and I, go at normal speeds like regular people do, then I'll go a lot farther and I'll last a lot longer and I won't burn myself out. So that's what you have to do. You have to realize that you're in the long run, not the short relay. You also have to realize that, sadly, nobody cares. Nobody cares. Nobody cares how good you're doing, how bad you're doing, how far you've gotten, what type of success you've had, accomplishments, nothing. Nobody cares. And that's just the sad truth. You have to be your own best cheerleader. I get geeked for myself. When I make an accomplishment, I'm geeked for myself. You did that. Shoot, now let's, you did that. Now let's work on the next goal. You did that. Everybody else, haters. Fucking haters. Unbelievable how a person can hate on another person because they're an image of what that person is too damn lazy to get up and do. Amazing that a person could get an attitude on that kind of stuff. But it's, just remember that, me personally here at the Relentless Mindset, what I want you to do is I want you to be in the race. I don't care how many breaks you take. I don't care about you stopping and walking. I don't care about you winning the race, but I want you to be in the race. That's what it's all about. You're in the race. Stop looking in your rearview mirror. Why are you looking in the rearview mirror? Why do you care about who's behind you? The only thing you're going to do looking in the rearview mirror is you're going to end up not seeing something that's in front of you and running into them, causing an accident. Now you've derailed them because you're worried about what's behind you. Look in front of you. See when you can change lanes. See when you can pass somebody or get in front of them or whatever. Not that it matters, but it's called moving through traffic. Keep moving through traffic. Keep being in the race. Stay in the race and don't give up. It's gonna happen. But when it's gonna happen, I don't know. I work, but I'm still working on other things. I'm doing this podcast. I've changed ideas so many times, so many YouTube pages. Now I'm on a podcast. I don't know what's going to work, but what I can tell you is something is going to work. Not sure what. But right now, I'm focusing on this podcast. This podcast is I invested a little bit of money. Got some free stuff and this, that, and other. So the podcast seems like a good idea. And it's also, the podcast gives me a venue for therapy. So I'm able to vent the thoughts that are just in my head all the time. So that helps out too. But thank you so much for listening. Make sure you subscribe, download, and I want you to be subscribe, download, and comment, because I want you to be part of the Relentless Mindset. I want you to be on this journey. I'm not perfect. My narrating is not perfect, but I'm striving to be better, and I'm striving to get a message to people that need it, to show them that, just keep going. It's not about winning. It's not about being rich. It's about continuing to move. It's about understanding, the order of things. Keep doing keep your money maker. And in your free time, you have to give up. If you're going out, if you go to a friend's house, if you go to your sister's house, you have to give all that up, because you have to decide that, I'm giving all that up, and I'm in grind mode. This is what I'm doing. You know what I'm saying? I do rideshare 12 hours. I come home, make my lunch, make my little snack for dinner, and then I'm in here, get all of my stories and scripts together to record for my podcast on the weekend. I'm starting to record a whole week of podcasts for 2 different podcasts, because I have the Relentless Mindset. Also, make sure you go check out the Narrative Mindset also. And I record, 14 recordings on the weekend, so then I can focus on the stories and getting those together during the week. So when the weekend comes, and I can record stories during the week, record on the weekends, and that should work out. But it's all about the grind. It's all about you being in the race. And that is where I want you. I don't care where you are in the race, but I want you in there. Get up, get your energy back. It's going to happen. And I'm not sure if it's going to be what you're doing, what you think it is, that's going to make it happen. I don't know what's going to make it happen, but it's going to happen. One thing, it will never happen if you give up. It's okay to quit. It's okay to try something else. But just make sure you get back up. Thank you for listening. This is the relentless mindset, because that's the mindset I want you to have. A mindset of relentlessness, where you are relentlessly striving towards growth. Until the next episode, thanks for listening.